again.
Yes, we're back for episode 4.
Episode 4. What are we going to talk about this episode?
We're going to talk about dating. Yeah? Very exciting.
A very light topic in comparison to the last one?
Yes. It could be deeper, but I think we want to have this discussion a little bit lighter than usual, I guess.
So something a little more playful, less serious? Almost like
just like the dating itself.
So you're basically saying we're on a date. That's what you're trying to convey, huh?
Not with you, but yeah.
Wow, I'm offended. I'm not good enough for you? All right, where do we want to start? We want to start start at the beginning. If you're a man, typically the only way to garner a date is either a dating app or approaching women.
Right.
Something
pretty
we've
much
done a lot and we love to do and enjoy talking about and doing when we go out.
Yes, we do. Recently, let's start with the actual dating apps, right? Because recently we've been using it, right?
Yeah.
Under these circumstances that we're having. So, I mean, I'm not against dating apps, obviously, but I have to say though that from a certain point, it's really exhausting. I really have to say that because the process itself is so. There are a lot of pauses in between. I have to get a match first, right? And then I have to message her usually, and then what I've found on dating apps, sort of trend is that guys spend more time on dating apps than girls do.
I think that's an inherent design because there's always going to be more dudes willing to, hook up or look for relationships with women than there are going to be women looking for guys.
Yeah.
So it's just uneven. So I think it's in the benefit of most, women, chicks, things like that, for them to just open it up and they get to select because most of us guys have relatively low standards, I think, and we'll take what we can get. A lot of guys at least.
And guys, we know this because we know a lot of friends like that. Okay, we're not guessing on this. Guys are, especially dating apps. It's hard to put a percentage to it, but a lot of guys are there to just. With a sore purpose, actually, usually hookups, right? I think that's their purpose a lot of times. But even then, you have to land a first date, and even getting to that point is kind of exhausting to me, honestly, because first of all, texting is not really fun for me. It really doesn't convey the meaning or the feelings of what I want to say. And like I said, there are a lot of pauses. It's not like texting to that person's number. You have to wait for it, right? So even if the conversation is going really well, with that pause, hours, a day, whatever, you lose that momentum.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
And it kind of changes the entire exchange. Kind of like the conversation, the dialogues. Very different depending on how much time's elapsed. The moment of joy and excitement, like, oh, this person looks cool or interesting, can quickly shift to the next day to be, maybe I'm not really interested, or maybe you're looking over the pictures more. She's not as cute as I initially thought, or you're looking through the bio. And you think, maybe I just won't respond. I think this happens to both parties, and then it kind of just fizzles and dies out, which is why usually the first thing I do when I match with somebody is immediately try to meet up for coffee, which can rub people the wrong way because a lot of people seem to want to get to know each other a little bit better.
Right.
But I'm in the same boat you're in, where I feel like I can't communicate who I am effectively through just these little characters on a phone and some emojis. It doesn't convey my true self very well. And that's why I think it's better to be in person, because you also can't get that from the other person you're exchanging these words with.
Right.
You don't get a real idea of who they are, body language, and chemistry.
That happens less if you exchange text with someone that you know really well, right? There's a less chance of misunderstanding the person, but we're talking about this brand new person who you don't know, and that the person doesn't know you at all, right? So the texting can mislead in many different ways. So I personally prefer. You've used that word before, organically meeting girls, or organically meeting people in general. That's what I prefer because it's really fun. It's just one shot, you know. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, you know. Like, you can get the result right away.
There's no mystery. There's no waiting to see if they're going to swipe right on you, or if you're going to have that feedback.
Yeah.
There's no really game, so to speak. You can kind of know immediately within a few moments. Oh, is this person willing to engage and interact with me?
Through their facial expressions, you know, things like that. How they talk, you know, whether or not they're, you know, looking at your eyes, whether or not they're engaged. You can gauge that in so many different ways, right? So I prefer that way more than dating apps. Dating apps could be fun in certain occasions.
I understand. I think the best thing you can get from a dating app is that you're allowed to meet people that you may not otherwise entirely, whether it's due to location, proximity, or just general interest altogether. For example, you and I, we spend most of our time active and we're outgoing. We're pretty busy guys. You know, when we're in the gym, if it's lifting, we're usually not conversing with people. We're there with a plan and an agenda, so we usually lack the socializing. So in that given situation, it makes it more difficult to maybe engage with people in an organic way because we already have a plan and we're trying to just execute that plan. So that's one benefit that these dating apps have. In some of these downtime or these situations where you're bored and maybe you want to try to meet with somebody, that's when they can become very useful. And you can meet with people from such different walks of life that you may not have even seen at the gym or met in these encounters that you just typically put yourself in, grocery store, the bars, etc. So I think that's the benefit. But there's always a stipulation. I think you should not put any of your ego and self-worth into these apps because they're just not representative of reality in its entirety.
Yes, very
I think
valid
it should
point.
be a small part of your, for lack of a better term, your dating plan or your dating strategy. You should also be, in conjunction with using these apps, meeting people regularly, in person, organically, as you said. And I think you'll find a lot more benefit from that because you get the playfulness, you get the engagement, you get the flirtation, the eye contact, you know, the subtle back and forth, the wittiness. And you can really build something that's way more personable and enjoyable via just that human one-on-one interaction. Or just in-person interaction. It doesn't necessarily have to be one-on-one. Maybe you're in a group setting. But it has an undeniable, lovable quality. And you just stand out way more. When you're swiping right, hot or not, basically, as a girl or a guy, you're not getting people. You're getting images of people. So it's easy to be entirely detached from realizing on the other end of that there's an actual person with feelings, emotions, and all these other things.
Yeah. Kids, the younger generations, you know, they are not really comfortable socializing with the people. They don't know, or they're not really comfortable even making eye contacts with people, right? So these dating apps could be very beneficial for people like that, introverts, I guess. But also, you know, that doesn't mean that you should stay that way. You know, you can put yourself in an uncomfortable situation so that you can maybe, you know, play it in a different way. You know, that's also another way to find out what kind of elements about yourself you can change or you can challenge, right? So I think in that sense, it could be very beneficial, even trying it.
So there's a benefit of self-discovery in the dating process.
Absolutely.
As long as you're willing to put yourself out there and engage with other people. You might find a lot out about yourself. Maybe you're extremely uncomfortable with these social interactions. Maybe that's because you've never done it. I think a lot of people fail to realize the uncomfortability is not revolved around necessarily the action, but the lack of repeatability in the action. So basically, to sum it up, it's the experience. when you're new to something, no matter what it is, there's going to be a level of discomfort because you're so aware of what expertise look like, or you're so aware of how uncomfortable, how inefficient you are, whether this is a sport, a new game, or a new social setting. You're immediately aware that, wow, I am not good at this, and this does not feel good. But that doesn't necessarily mean what you're doing or engaging in is a negative. It's just an opportunity to maybe grow and get more comfortable in that thing. And this one is worth getting comfortable in for so many different reasons, from the way you interact with employers, employees, friends, random people you meet, by having the ability to approach women and just open up a discussion with them and convey interest or other things that you want to get across will apply to so many other areas of your life that'll be
absolutely
beneficial.
That's a really good point, that those skills and experience can translate to other situations, interacting with people in general, right? So that's a really important point. And not just interacting, but also speaking in front of people in general, right? It could be presentation, it could be just small meeting where you have to talk to people. Not necessarily they're not talking to you, you're not having conversation with them, but you may have to present some ideas, for a certain amount of time. And those kind of things, skills, that experience can actually help you build up that, skills.
I think it's similar to, I'm going to speak about rock climbing because it's something we do. Whether you're rope climbing, bouldering, or doing anything of that nature, you're going to run into a situation where you have to make a move that is extremely uncomfortable, and you feel like you have to commit, and you don't think you're going to be able to do it. There's going to be fear in your head. Maybe the move is new to you. Maybe you've never done the route. Maybe you're just brand new to the climbing experience altogether. But what happens is eventually you're going to try to make the move, probably fall, as we all do. And then you'll realize, oh, that was it. I fell. I didn't hurt myself. Nothing's bad. It wasn't that big of a deal. And that'll build you some confidence to go do it again. Until eventually, oh, wow, you've stuck the move. This is the same thing with approaching women or approaching the opposite sex or the same sex. Whoever you're approaching, is that you're going to get rejected. This is going to happen.
Yeah,
it has to happen. It's necessary. Because, again, if it didn't happen, you probably wouldn't appreciate when you have success and when you hit it off with somebody. So you shouldn't necessarily be so much afraid to be rejected. I mean, how many times have we been rejected? I can't count. More than we've ever been accepted, absolutely.
Right.
But you go there, you shoot your shot, have fun in it. Don't take it seriously. Realize that has so little to do with you. And just accept the outcome and let it go. If it's something good comes of it, cool. If it's a negative experience, you can reframe your mind to think of it in a positive way. You can laugh it off. I mean, you probably remember this girl in Austin. We were out, we were drinking, it's late at night, probably about midnight. Two cute girls sitting down. I'm like, oh, wow, she's gorgeous. I want to go talk to her. So, yeah, man, go for it. So I go over there and start talking to her. And immediately she's like, oh, my God, what are you doing? I don't want to talk to you. And she's just giving me a ear beating. I mean, she's going in hard on me like, oh, my God, who do you think you are? Totally drunk.
Right.
And I'm just sitting there. I just asked, how's your night going?
Right.
And her friend's covering her mouth and mouthing to me, essentially whispering like, I am so sorry. And I'm just sitting there taking it. And I'm like, okay, well, you guys have a good night.
Yeah.
I got back to you and laughed it off. But this experience happens a lot of times. Usually it's not that drastic. Usually people are just simple. They give one-word responses.
Right.
Why are you out tonight? Just wanted to come out. Okay.
Yeah. Just the coldness.
You can sense that. You can pick up on that. And you can accept it gracefully. You can say, well, I thought you were cute. I just wanted to say, have a good night.
Right.
And then you can walk away.
Yeah.
You still got your message across, and that'll probably make their night feel better.
Right.
Oh, somebody thinks I'm cute. That's cool. Even if I'm not interested, that's nice. I mean, I love getting compliment, even if I'm not interested. It doesn't matter if it's from a guy, a girl, old woman, old man. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's kind of you.
Again, that person doesn't know you, so it shouldn't really matter. And I mean, I want to include women in this discussion too, because sometimes they approach guys too, but we're talking about more about guys in this situation because majority of the times, the guys are the ones who actually approach the other party.
More
right?
times than not.
Yes. So anyway, the rejection is part of the game. Don't be afraid of it. And maybe you can actually get better at it, right? Sometimes the first rejection could be really hard on you, right? Oh, what did I do wrong? you haven't done anything wrong, okay? That person just doesn't want to talk to you. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to just move on. But maybe it's good to have some, like a closing line, right? Because a lot of times, I've seen this a lot of times, guys get rejected and they just get red-faced and they don't know what to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you said earlier, just simple line of, oh, okay, have a good night, whatever. Just walk away. Maybe that's something that you can prepare before approach girls. That way, you can deal with that situation a little bit better, right? So I think you can be strategic for sure, and practice preparation. Unfortunately, it's necessary for guys. And it comes with experience, man. Again, you have to do it a lot. It's just like, it's like you playing a game, reading an instruction and playing a game are two different things, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, you can prepare all day long, whatever. I mean, you can study it. You can go to college. Maybe I can probably make a major out of it. But if you don't really do it, it's not going to be yours,
Absolutely. And it's something that, like you were saying, to make it yours, you have to inject your personality and your desire and what you want into it. Because as much as it's a game, you're also your own character.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be willing to go out there, get those experience points, level up, so to speak.
Right.
Change your outfit, the way you're presenting yourself, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Take a deep look in the mirror. Not only physical outward appearance, but also emotionally. How are you conveying yourself? Is your tone of voice wrong when you approach a woman? Do you seem creepy? Do you seem a certain way? And again, having a friend or somebody that cares about you that can be honest with you is going to have a huge impact on your ability to get this information. Because you shouldn't be taking information from some random stranger that rejects you.
Right.
You just shouldn't, because they might be... They don't know you. Their opinion may not be valid. Not to say that it's completely invalid, but it should be weighted very low percentage. Weight it very lightly.
You want to talk about the Kant's letter? Because I thought that they would be really a good closer.
Sure. You're talking about the woman who wrote Kant. Do you remember her name? I don't recall.
Yeah, Maria von, maybe not the middle name, but Herbert. Yeah.
Maria Herbert.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so she had gone through a really rough
Heartbreak.
heartbreak, and she had wrote Kant essentially saying, I understand your views on morality, and even though I agree with them, the reality of my situation and the gravity of the situation clashes with this thought.
Right.
And I can't bear to continue to live, and I'm having ideas and thoughts about suicide, essentially. And then you said, how did Kant respond to her?
Kant, his response was basically that first he tells her there's a difference between reticence and dishonesty. And he clarifies that first. And then he tells her that basically time will cure it, But also another thing is that the enjoyment that you get from people are overly, highly overrated. That's what it was saying, especially the happiness based on the external sources. So that was his advice, and she wrote 2 more times, but he didn't really reply to those letters, and then she ended up killing herself after 8 years of life.
Wow.
Yeah. And the really funny thing is that her brother...
Oh, this is funny to you? Sorry, go on.
Did I say funny?
Funny.
Oh, that's
thing.
crazy. I didn't
Strange.
mean that
I know
way.
what you
Yeah,
mean.
really
Strange.
that her brother actually committed suicide as well after a few years.
Wow, after her suicide, he killed him?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So it almost seems like there's maybe some hereditary genetic
Could be.
to...
Because on the third letter she says that, basically she's getting better and all that, but, after 8 years she did it anyway.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I guess that goes to say that, even with all the, obviously Kant, everything he wrote was much more deep than what we've touched on here.
Right.
But even though something logically, it can still be very difficult to apply
That's
emotionally.
one thing that we can take away from that. Yeah.
But I think what we tell anybody that's listening to this is what we've mentioned today, approaching people, developing the skill. It takes time, and you really do got to give it an honest effort. And it's not going to happen overnight. Some people it will. Some people it'll click.
Right.
But that's a vast minority. Most of us, it's going to take years of experience. It's going to take, tens to hundreds of approaching people of the opposite sex, same sex, whatever, to develop a robust skill set to communicate effectively in a way where you're trying to woo somebody, you're trying to have a business relationship, trying to develop a friendship, you're trying to date or otherwise. So I would implore anybody who's listening to be patient with yourself. Enjoy the process. That's the fun.
Yes. Yeah, that's
is
a
that
big part.
Eventually you're going to look back, and where you started to where you are now is going to be miles. It's going to be vast.
Right.
And there's so much joy that you'll get in the process if you take it not very seriously, but serious enough to actually have real change. But again, we don't want anybody killing themselves over this, because these relationships are one aspect of life. I think they're a huge aspect, but they're one part of life. So just remember that when you go out there and you're talking to people.
True. It's really important to know that your happiness shouldn't be really dependent on external sources. I think that's one of the most important things to know. A lot of times in a relationship, person can develop the dependence, right? And then they feel like, I cannot be happy without this person. But that's not really true, right? Even if that's true, if you feel that way, that is not real happiness for you. That is not, true happiness for you.
You might have been outsourcing a lot of your happiness and putting it on somebody unfairly, which I think happens a lot in relationships where, you're dating, it's new, it's exciting. Oh, I feel alive. I feel so good. This other person completes me. And then you get 3-6 months into it and you realize, wow, I'm not really that happy because this person becomes familiar.
Right.
And then all the issues that you had that you never dealt with
reemerge.
But you misattribute it to the person. You say, well, they're the problem. I mean, what's changed? Oh, it's gone stale. This isn't love. But really, it could have been something internal to you. And unless you do the work and the time to examine all these things internally and have self-love and address them readily, you're potentially setting yourself up to lose an awesome partner or end up with the wrong partner, period. So, bottom line, you got to take care of yourself before you even engage with somebody else. Or you should. And again, it's a learning process. When you're engaging with somebody, they're going to reveal things that you didn't realize you had with you. Issues. Maybe they do something that makes you jealous. Oh, well, why do I feel jealous? Is it rational? Is it realistic? Is it understandable? Or any range of emotion? But that person can be a huge torch to illuminate issues we have internally. And then we can work on them. And we can become better for it. We can become better partners, better employees, better employers, better friends, all of that. Because we have somebody else that's reflecting this image back to us. And we should always, I believe, strive to be better. Because it gives us direction in life, something to aim for. And that is invaluable. It makes life worth living in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Good summary, man. I like that.
Well, I think we're about to wrap it up. About 56 minutes in here. So thanks, guys, for tuning in this week for dating and some relationships.
I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Get out there and talk to some girls. See you guys.
See ya. Bye. That's this week's episode of the Theory of Living podcast. Thank you for listening with us. We're Cody and Kai. Don't forget to join us next week for another episode.
And if you'd like to help support us, we have a Patreon page where you can subscribe for exclusive content.
Also, please share with others who you think may find value in our discussion.
Leave a rating, a review, and please subscribe to the podcast and the YouTube.
Thank you again.
See you later.